Hey everybody, Whip here and welcome on back to Minecraft. Today is something very special indeed. These mountains, you all have probably seen them on the streams, the VODs, and all that stuff by now. But today, I have been recording all of that stuff that we have been working on through a replay mod, so we have all of it in a big ol' massive time lapse. And I thought today would be super fun to be able to take a breather from the city and take a look at what we have done in the mountain range over the past month. As always, with these mountain builds, they are completely done in survival mode, so I figured it would be bad to not start this off showing where we gather our resources. Underneath the mountain range, we spend a very large amount of time down here clearing all of the terrain below it. This time I was a little lazy and left the trees above it, but normally I take those out as well. But this is where we're getting all of our dirt, all of our grass that we're using inside of the mountain range. If you plan to do some sort of custom biome work yourself, and you're going up into the sky like we are right now, why not use the resources that are down below it instead of destroying another biome? You're covering up one, why not use what's inside that thing you just covered up? Anyways, coming up here to what the covering up part of all of this is, I decided to take a break from the mountains themselves and come over here and start planning out and working on a new section of our hilly region, the highlands region, I guess we could call it, that is bordering the river here. So naturally, because we have a river going through this area, I wanted to make this a little bit taller and a little bit higher up than anything else going on this. Also, sorry if there's any flashing going on in here. Sorry, I don't really know how that happened. But throughout this area, I really want to start etching in a good hillside here. Something that could be smoothed out, something that we could pretty easily get a road across. Because coming out the top of this area, outside kind of where it's cleared out on that left-hand part, I do want to come back in here and actually add in a roadway to get out of the Nordic village on the upper side as well. I don't want that one gate that we have right there at the bottom of the screen right now being the only gate that we have getting into that village. I always want to have at least 2 entrances and exits into every single place we make, especially if there's a raid on one side and we just need to get out the other side, or if we need to do a sneak attack and get behind them. But we are able to get so much work done. We have currently, I believe we're at the point where we've placed over 260,000 dirt blocks inside of this mountain range, or inside of the world in general. It's probably a majority in the mountain range, let's be honest. And then we've also placed in a little over 180,000 stone blocks. So for everybody who's trying to do the math on that type of stuff, in that little clip in the beginning there where we're gathering up the dirt, that came out to 11 shulker boxes of dirt right there. And that stuff has already all been used and placed back down, and we've refilled them again. So there's been a lot of stuff going on here, but this is where I really started coming back in here and etching out this grand mountain range at the back of what is going to be the future Nordic village. And I know there's that little hole cut out into it. What I want to do inside of that area is actually I want to build a sort of a statue, like a Norse version of Atlas, basically holding up the mountain under his arms, kind of like Atlas is that Greek figure that was always holding up the globe. I want to kind of do a play on that with a Nordic version of it, kind of holding up the rest of the mountain in there and turning it into a religious shrine of sorts, of where they might be going to commune with the gods or commune with the ancients to seek knowledge and all that stuff. So maybe whoever the chieftain or the, what, I don't even know what it'd be called for Norse people. Chief, I guess, would be a good one. But whoever is in charge of this tribe would be coming up here to like seek guidance and seek where to be going. So I think that's really cool to have that built into the mountains itself instead of just something off to the side. I also do want to add in some shrines just kind of scattered around the mountains, similar to those stones that you see in like the Elder Scrolls games, where there's just like these power stones where you can get a sigil to watch over you and you get a buff or something like that. Like there's the warrior, the mage, etc. Enough of blabbing of future ideas, let's focus on the now. We are down here again in the mines, forever expanding our mine of getting more and more stone, of course, because we ran out of stone again. Right now we're building everything out of stone, and I do want to point out that we are still going to be coming back in eventually and adding in a lot of that variation that we originally used within the mountains, which was some of the parts of the mountains were completely cyan terracotta with gray concrete powder, not light gray, just gray concrete powder. So we're going to need to come back in here and add a lot more detail into that, and then the rest is going to be cobblestone and andesite mixed into with the rest of the stone areas. So as you can see, we are going to be needing to do a lot of resource gathering. But thankfully, we are not really in a rush to this. There's a good example right here of what that texture variation looks like in the end. That's what the goal is for the rest of the structure. We're just behind right now. And the next step I would actually like to move forward into after we get a few more areas of these filled out is covering the entire area with snow and making it really feel like a big snowy mountain. A lot of the way that I build a lot of my terrain, and I find it easiest, is instead of bringing the snow right away, a lot of the dirt you're seeing basically above a certain elevation, I kind of pick it as we go throughout, is I'm just going to turn all that dirt into blocks of snow and then add snow layers on top to smooth it all out. It's a pretty easy way to make some custom terrain, so if you're looking for tips on how to do it yourself, start with the base blocks. We have stone to show what the mountain faces itself, because that's a good example, and then we have dirt to show where anything that is not going to be stone. You can have that be gravel, you can have it be whatever you want in the end, and it's a good way to do it. And I think it's a really easy one to get throughout this entire area. Coming in here though, we are filling in some parts of this large major mountain. I'm kind of trying to finish up a lot of that one so it can not just be that scaffolding wireframe that we had there, because I do try, and every single week that we've been doing these streams, I've been trying to come through here and make sure we have some noticeable progress and we're not just setting up more scaffolding things throughout the entire area. So it's really important to me that we're working on and filling out these areas as we go. Because another thing that I noticed for myself is if I plan out the entire thing in wireframe scaffolding, I look at it and go, wow, we have a lot of work left to do. So it's kind of nice to just be able to take a break and fill in those things and then be able to more easily focus on the, wow, we did a lot. So I kind of find that pretty useful, and everything going on in there, it's really nice, and I like this one. I think it's very steep compared to the original mountains that we're setting up, but overall I think it's pretty good for what we've been able to get across. I think it has a really cool, like, large atmosphere around it. I'm struggling for the word right now, but it has a really imposing presence, which is really what I'm trying to go for here. So we'll see a lot in this valley here. There are some sharper edges that really kind of bring that imposing atmosphere across. I want it when you're walking through this valley to be looking up the sides and be like, wow, this is a really deep valley. These mountains around me are absolutely massive, which is the end goal that I'm going for here. I think it's working out pretty well for ourselves so far. So we got a lot more work to do on it, which is pretty good. But I mean, it's an unending project is kind of the idea behind this one. It's something that we can pick up every once in a while and just keep adding to and keep adding to. So hopefully you all have been enjoying this one. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys have ideas for to be adding in here, what we can be adding down the road, what we should be focusing on next for the mountains, and be sure to stop by the streams. We've been having a lot of fun there. You all have been giving some amazing input for these. But anyways, I did a little bit more work. Let's jump back over into the world. I do hope you all enjoyed that time lapse looking at all of the progress that we have been able to make over the streams. It wouldn't be a fWhip video if I didn't have some building of different things and some extending of larger projects inside of the video itself. So of course, naturally, at the end of that, I decided to come back in here in my own time and just sit here for a bit and plan out the rest of this. Before we get too far into it, I do want to fly on back down here and just show you all the sight line of what we're looking at right now. This to me really is what can make builds. You're coming through this area, you don't really see too much about what's going on. This whole bridge here is blocking it. You actually can't really see the mountains. You can kind of see a glimpse of them as you're walking through this corridor, through this forested area. You pop out over here, and then all of a sudden you pop up through this and you're like, wow, look at all that stuff. Look at all them mountains. And then once we actually fill in a Nordic village in here, that's going to look even better with hiding the mountains behind there. It's these massive structures inside of our world that we're trying to basically hide them from the walking player's point of view. It's a really good way to make your world a lot more immersive, is not to have everything just plain in right there. You shouldn't be able to see all your super cool stuff from every single point. Hide it from different areas, and you can make those areas where you are hanging out in a lot more interesting, a lot better off. Speaking of areas where we are going to be hanging out, I came back in here and extended our plan out like crazy. I'd mentioned multiple times on stream that I wanted to create a large glacier type mountain structure back here, and I decided to change that a little bit and go with something that's more familiar to me and something that I've been really wanting to do back here. I think it'd be easier to see it from up in this area. We might jump into spectator mode if that makes things easier. But as you can see, the dirt right there is coming down this way, which is just going to be some snow channels more or less. Then this area up here is relatively flattened out. That is pretty flat. And then it just goes woo all the way up there. That's about 240. So we got about 16 blocks left for world height. That's at 230 up there. So this one's a little bit lower than this guy. But what I want to do with this area where it's semi-flattened out and everything is build almost like a Nordic ruin of sort. Think Skyrim. Yes, I know. A Skyrim reference inside of my world. I know. First time for it ever. I think that'd be super cool to have some old ancient ruins just sitting up in this area, looming off in the distance, that makes the character want to leave the village and wander up this valley. And then inside of this valley itself, we can see these dirt pathways. This is going to be a canyon that you'll kind of be able to walk up, getting really, really steep up into the mountains. We have all these crazy mountains going on over here. And one thing that I'm personally really excited to be building beyond all of these ones is we are going to be building a frozen lake up here. This one is kind of important to me. I'm really excited to be building this one. There's a few things behind it that I'll get into later, but the plan is to be coming up this way, and this is kind of like a memorial inside my world for a good friend. And we're going to be adding in a big frozen snowy lake back in here, and then adding another large mountain looming up in the distance into this area eventually. And it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really awesome. I'm planning to make that mountain over there, basically having some cool like ski runs of sorts going up and down it. And I think it'll be really fun to be able to play with those snow chutes, I guess you could call them, where it's snow all the way up from the top of the mountain all the way down to the bottom. I think it'll be really fun to add that, add some cool trees on there and everything. So we've got a massive plan of everything coming into these mountains. We've got a lot of things left to do going back in this way, but I think what we need to start focusing on as well is extending our mountains from here, going out this way, and working on this part of the build especially. This part is a little plain and boring, and especially over here, it just cuts off. The end goal was to have it coming all the way off into this vicinity and ending, like coming to an end point right around it here, and then eventually creating these into custom mountains as well. I think at this point though, these mountains over here might wait until we see that Mojang mountain update, because I kind of want to compare and have that cool contrast of that side of the road is my own cool custom mountain range coming all the way out over to here, and then these ones are Mojang's hopefully cool mountains. Let's go with that. But I thought it'd be kind of cool because we've never really touched these mountains besides a little fake coal mining mine shaft right down here, which is something we built a very long time ago, but it's kind of cool just to have it here, something dark here in the distance that flooded in so you can't mine any further. But anyways, unfortunately, that is going to have to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you have been enjoying the mountain thing. If there's anything else you all want to be seeing on the mountains, things I should add and things I should be looking out for while we're building up those things, be sure to let me know that down in the comments below. Please hit that subscribe button if you're new, and if you're an OG fWhip fan, go poke a buddy in the arm and tell him, hey, fWhip makes some cool Minecraft videos. You should go check him out. That would be very much appreciated. And if you are one of those friends who's been poked in the arm, let us know who poked you in the arm. That'd be awesome to hear down in the comments below. Anyways, thank you all so much, and I will catch you on the fWhip side.